Good evening, guys, and happy Friday to all of your sunshiny faces. Guys, it is hot. I'm tired. I want to get to bed. So it's been kind of cool out like last week, but this week has been very warm. And because it was so cold like last week, we were like windows closed at night kind of thing. Like it was chilly. And so, you know, again, it was not the, you know, like 80-degree weather that it was, you know, like a few weeks ago. And this was really like the last week or so that it's kind of been like that, or not this last week, but the prior 2 weeks. Like I know the last 2 football games were kind of chilly. Well, this football game, it was very warm out, and this last week in general has been very warm. Like today, I think it just barely got under 60 degrees in the high 80s still during like the football game. And the thing was too is that the football game also went pretty quickly. Like we were out of there by I think 9:30, which is kind of like normally the football games can take until like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Sometimes we'll still be there depending on kind of how long the game has went. However, our offense was running the football a lot, and when you run the football, a lot of times it runs the clock down a lot faster. And so we did have some pretty big pass plays, but for a lot of the offense, I feel like it was a lot of running, and you know, and I don't really know kind of the other team, I guess a little bit too, but I just know after, like once the halftime was over, I was like, this has moved on really quickly, and then by the end of the game too. So the thing is I actually wore like athletic leggings, like kind of like capris, and then I also ended up wearing a long sleeve like pullover kind of, and then I wore that for like up until halftime, and then it started getting a little bit chillier, so then I ended up putting on a sweatshirt after that, but it was still like very, very comfortable where I probably maybe even didn't need that, but it was like a very thin pullover, so I ended up, you know, putting on a sweatshirt. However, though, I was telling you guys, I think last week I was, you know, doing the end zone football, you know, recording for, you know, the coaches, and, you know, like they do the end zone cam. Because the coaches watch it back in real time, and then they'll do film the next day a lot of times, and so they only had one camera though, and this was, I guess, kind of similar to the same problem they had last week. However, they were lucky enough that they actually had the a different camera, I guess, that they used for the Frost-Off game, and they had that still from the game prior last Thursday, and we were able to use that because something on it I think was broken. So what ended up happening though was one of the coaches, actually, I guess the one that's kind of like in charge, I don't know if necessarily if he's in charge of the like, you know, all that stuff, because like a couple of them will work on it. Like I'll see one of them like setting something up, and then another one comes over and like set something else up, but they had bought a new camera because, again, too, last week this one wasn't working. I think there was a problem with like the not the cord, but it was actually like the port on the camera, so it wasn't connecting to the whole system that they end up running, you know, the whole thing through. So like on my screen I couldn't see anything, but the camera was still fine and booted up and turned on and powered up and all that kind of stuff, but like they can't then see the plays back in real time, and I can't see anything on my screen either. So it's basically like, you know, your webcam being completely functional, but you can't see anything, and it's not recording anything. So that's kind of what it was like, you know, like the camera's up there working and everything like that, but I don't see anything. I can't do anything. They can't see anything. They can't watch it back. All we could really do is like record, which is a problem because when I can't see anything though, I can't zoom in when I need to, when it's, you know, the plays further down the field, like that kind of stuff. So again, they had, you know, the camera that they knew wasn't working last week, so they ended up buying a new one. I guess that one wasn't, I want to say it wasn't working, but I don't know if they couldn't get it, like it didn't have the right connection or connectors, or like something like that wasn't right, and so they didn't end up, or they weren't able to use it. So they only had the one camera that they use up in the booth versus the one that they use in the end zone. They decided not to use that one. So we did not end up having to record anything today. So we ended up sitting in the bleachers and watched the football game that way instead today, which is really weird because like this is the first football game I've watched so far from the high school that Jack hasn't played in where I've been like a fan and not like helping, if that makes sense, you know, and not doing the end zone recording, because it's way different watching the football game from a little screen at the end zone, where on top of that too, like I was telling my dad, when you're watching it from the end zone, you can't tell like the distance of the field, like how far a kid runs, you know, like that kind of stuff, like down the field, because you're trying to get to the end zone. And so when I'm sitting in the end zone, I can't tell how far a kid's running down the field, because from my point of view, like, I don't know, he could have been moving like a couple feet, he could have been moving, you know, like he could be like 1 yard, it could be like 20 yards. I really can't. I mean, I can tell sort of, but like in certain situations you can't really see that much, especially if it's on the other end of the end zone, versus like on my end, it's still, I can still see it, but it's kind of hard. So I always have to gauge how, like where they are on the field, more or less. I have to gauge like the sticks to figure out where where they are on the field, because again too though, on my camera it looks like, because I can zoom in, so I feel like they're a lot closer than they really are, versus if they're further away, like I can't tell that. And so it was interesting to watch the football game and actually see it in like, you know, the way I'm used to watching the football game, and seeing them move down the field, you know, left to right and stuff like that, instead of like front to back kind of. And so it was like, it was very different, especially too because like Jack's not out on the field and this is the first game. And the really weird thing is that his last football game was actually the one he played on that field last year. It was their last football game of the season. They played a different school, but this school and the other school that we played today both used the same field. And so we, you know, like you know, we were there last year for that last game, and so it was really weird to be back there again to watch that. You know, as far as, you know, like, I don't know, just not having somebody to watch on the field necessarily, even though I still know a lot of the kids. Not like a ton of them, but it's like there's 2 on the team still that I did coach back when they were in youth football, and there's a couple kids too that like I kind of know anyway, like one of them, you know, like a couple of them too though, just because they played with Jack last year, like I just know who they are, and you know, I'm used to cheering them on and stuff like that. But it was like when Jack was on the field, like I don't know, it was kind of quiet a little bit, just because he wasn't, like I was still cheering like, oh, they got a touchdown, that kind of stuff, like, so again, I was cheering for that, you know, like I guess, you know, big plays and all that kind of stuff. But as far as like cheering for Jack and just kind of like the positivity, I don't know, it wasn't really like kind of the same. Like I just, and also too, maybe it was weird because I wasn't going in expecting to really like watch the game, just sitting there. I was expecting to go there and like work, you know, kind of, and do the filming and all that kind of stuff. And so when I didn't, it just seemed really weird to me. And I don't know, maybe I was just out of my element a little bit, because I love watching any kind of football, like even if it's just some like pickup football game on a Thanksgiving, you know, or something like that in the park. Like it's still entertaining to watch, and I still don't mind watching it. But you know, like I said, it was just a little bit weird and a little different, and you know, so anyways though, but guys, really cool thing is that they ended up winning. The final was 28-6, and like I said too, the time as far as like the game, it was very quick, just because like I was saying, we were running the ball a lot. So I think there was only 2 opportunities where we had the ball and didn't score. So we only had the ball 5 times in the game, and there were 2 times where we didn't score. One, we did try and kick a field goal and they ended up missing, and the second time we ended up it was 3rd down, they tried to throw a pass and it got intercepted. And that was the only 2 times where, like, during the game where we had the ball and we didn't end up scoring. I don't think we ever punted at all in the game. So, like, again, too, where we ended up giving them field position, which they actually tried for a deep field goal on like, I want to say it was like a 30-yard probably field goal, which is like kind of far-ish for like high school, but I think it was like probably 30 plus. But our field goal kicker is really, really good. I don't think he's missed an extra point all season. I do know though there's been 2 field goals, I think this one and one other one where he missed, and the other one got blocked. This one he was just a little wide, and I think it was a little short, like he didn't have enough like power on it. But there was that, and then also too, like I said, that interception that they didn't end up getting, or the other team ended up getting, was the only thing. And honestly too, I was like, if it didn't get intercepted, then we probably might have tried to kick a field goal again from that point. But they probably would have tried to go for it on 4th down and would have probably given it back to them if they hadn't gotten it. And so, because of where field position was anyway, it was actually kind of like not really that bad that they ended up throwing the interception, only because of they tackled the kid kind of right away. And so I think he got some yardage, but he was like almost back to where our line of scrimmage was anyway. So like it really wasn't that big of a deal. And it was towards the end of the game, I think, too. So and maybe, I don't know if we had the ball at the end of the game. We might have. Yeah, I think we did. We just kneeled. We took a knee at the end. So I know, okay, I guess there's 6 times in total we had the ball to end the game, though they just ended up kneeling it out and ended the game. So we didn't score, I guess, on that drive technically. But anyways, so like I said, I think that was only 6 times. The really awesome thing, I guess, with all of this is that so we won this game again, and this is now the 3rd game that we've won. We're now 3-2, which I want to say, I don't want to say has never happened, but there's very few times in recent years where our high school football team has had a been over 500, meaning that they're not like wins and losses, you know, like they don't have they were 2-2 prior to this, meaning they were 500. They're now over 500, which, like I said, the only time that like actually I don't even want to say in recent years, almost all but probably can count on one hand in the history of our school, which dates back to probably the well, I'm gonna say our football, because our school is well over 100 years old, but I want to say football wise, I think was either 60s or 70s. I think that between then and now, I can count maybe on 1, possibly 2 hands where we've ever had that many wins, actually, where we've ever had 3 in a season. So I know that the last, and I'm just thinking like the last handful of years at least, I'm not entirely sure like what happened really in like the 70s on, but I do even want to say even then I'm not entirely sure. I know I was just looking this up. Like I said, I don't even know when our football program actually started. I just know the school is over 100 years old. And again, too, the football program, I know that in 74 or 76, we did win state. That was the only time we've ever won. They actually went undefeated the entire season, and that was the only year that we ever won state. There was only one other time where we made it to the playoffs, and there was, I think, only one other time that we had where they went, I think, 4-5. However, and I think that was in the 90s maybe, or they might have made the playoffs in the 90s, and the last time they went 4-5 was in the 80s, and then like I said, they won the like state championship in the 70s. I think the following year they might have had a winning record, and I want to say there was like maybe one other year somewhere in there where something like that kind of happened too, but very, very few, like I was looking this over because I was trying to figure it out today. Very few times where we've been like positive in like, and even had this many wins in a season. The last time we did it was actually Matthew's freshman year, which he was on varsity, so doesn't really count as far as he didn't contribute anything to it. But his freshman year, that varsity team ended up going 3-6 on the season, and that was in 2014. So that was the last time that we've ever had more than 2 wins in a season. I actually think that's the last time possibly we've ever had more than 1 win in a season, which is kind of crazy. In all of my high school years too, when I was in school for 4 years prior to Matthew, we were in a different conference, and they ended up, I actually want to look this over because I think I was telling you guys the other day, we only had like 1 win, I think, all 4 of those years or something like that. But I don't know, I'd have to double check and actually see if that's true or not. But like I was saying, our school, I was actually looking this up too, and I think the total wins since our school, at least football, since what they have recorded, were like 250 wins in total, maybe. Like, or something around there. It was like a little over 200 wins, and we had like something like 400 losses or something like that, over 400. So I can't remember the exact percentage. I think it's like 30 something percent, like winning percentage, like that's like wins to losses. So like I said, our school is not, over the course of history even, has not had very positive season outcomes. So this is a huge positive, especially with this new coach that we have, and this is only his second year. And like last year too, he ended up taking over, I think, was it during this summer or something like that. Like he didn't actually get to like plan out sort of like the summer schedule like he did this last summer, because he ended up taking over the football program, I want to say like either the very beginning of summer or something like that. Or maybe in the spring. So like the stuff that they already had kind of set in place as far as like scheduling, like that kind of stuff, he didn't even plan that. So this is kind of the first full year that he's been completely 100% in charge of the program for like the entire like season, because again too, the season really starts in summer, and that's when they do all their summer camps and like that kind of stuff. I don't think he planned that the prior year, which was Jack's senior year last year. So this is kind of the first year that he has all of those, you know, those things set as far as like the way he wants to do it and all this kind of stuff. And you know, I think like hiring on certain coaches, like a lot of them were kind of retained from like, you know, the previous coaching staff and stuff like that, but some of it too is like other new hires and things like that as well over the last year or 2 years, you know, kind of. So again, you know, like like Jack coaching now this year, but like that kind of stuff, like, you know, so this is kind of his first full year with the program. And again too, it's such a different like atmosphere, and it's so different as far as like the positivity. One of the things I thought was super cool was they have like the student section, and normally a student section don't go to the away games. Sometimes they would. Like I know when Matthew was in high school, I remember like a lot of the kids would still come out, because like a lot of them were just friends and stuff like that, and they would come out and like support the team and, you know, stuff like that, even in the games when they'd lose. But it was a lot more, like you'd see it a lot more, like that happened a lot when Matthew, I know, was in high school. However, over the last kind of 4 years, well, Jack's been in high school, that I haven't seen that very much, where they don't, like the students don't end up coming out to the away games. And like other schools too, like when we have home games, other schools' student section will like come out to the away games. Our school hasn't done that in a while. Like I think my high school years too, over those 4 years, they came out. But again too, because the program has not been very good over the last couple of years, like there just hasn't been a lot of like the students coming out. But I thought it was really cool, because they kind of thought that this was going to be a win anyway, I think. And you know, we're very positive about like, you know, again the you know, again rankings kind of, and just like schedules and stuff like that, and who these teams have beaten and who we've beaten already. I think there's a lot more positivity, and they had a student section out there today, which I was like, that's pretty cool, because that means that the, you know, student body in the high school is actually kind of seeing like, this is really positive, like we could win 3 games so far and be over 500 this season, have a winning record as of right now. And so like I said, I think they kind of see that, and you know, like again are looking at that as far as like you know, again, a positivity in the program, because a lot of times too, it's just we know what our school is, and we're like, football, you know, like we'll give the old college try kind of thing, but it's not normally a very positive outcome. Like I said, with, you know, again over the course of the last handful of years, not doing very well. And again too, I think that like people are starting to, you know, feel that things are changing. And like I said, I noticed that very much today in the fact that the student section ended up coming out to an away game, which again normally doesn't happen. And we're really positive too about next week, because although it's homecoming next week, again too, this is another team where they think that, again, looking at schedule wise and stuff like that, they're really hoping that they'll be able to get a win this week. Again too, the first game of the season, we kind of knew, again, like the school that we were playing was kind of a big powerhouse school. We kind of, again, like there's a couple of those teams where you just kind of know like it's not really going to be that great of a game. But there's some where you're like, this is really competitive, or like could be a win, and that's kind of how they feel about this week coming up, and that's how they kind of felt about today too, I think. And so again, it was really awesome to see that, and like I said, that's another feeling of like things are changing. and there's kind of this turnaround and more positivity towards the football program, I think, and not like, oh, we're gonna lose this one again, you know, kind of thing. It's a lot more like we could win and be 4-2 already, like if we win next week, which is again to the hope and the wish. And it's not just kind of like a, you know, like just again one of those give it the old college try kind of thing, we'll try and get a win this week. It's like people are kind of, you know, again very positive about being able to get a win this week, instead of just like, oh yeah, well, you know, just, you know, keep that positivity up kind of thing. Instead it's a lot more like, yeah, we're gonna, you know, we'll put up a really good fight against this team if, you know, again, we're pretty confident in the win, kind of. So like I said, that's gonna be interesting next week, and hopefully all the camera stuff will work out. I told you guys how like it's kind of been one thing, like, you know, at the start, and then things get fixed and then it's like not working again, and so I'm hoping that all that kind of gets taken care of, and then we can have a good week next week and I can get all that, because I know I was like getting scared too, because like at parts of the game I was like, I wonder if like they needed, you know, some of that footage, like, because there was a couple times where I was like, that was probably like something maybe they couldn't see right, or, you know, again, whatever it is, because they use all that information to like talk to each other, you know, they're like, oh, this thing happened or that thing happened or whatever, and so, you know, they use that, again, information to tell the kids then on the field, like, hey, you know, this thing happened, or, you know, like on this last play, you know, like you didn't do that right or something like that, and so they're able to talk to, you know, again, and see other stuff based on, you know, what they see on the camera. And so I was like, hope they didn't like need it, but we got the win, so I guess it worked out anyway. But I will see you guys all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love it if you'd subscribe, and I'll see all of your sunshiny faces tomorrow. So bye guys.